and welcome back to the Dukascopy studios here in Geneva. Joining me on the line to discuss the relative price movements in the energy sector is Thierry Bros from Société Générale. So Thierry, thank you for taking the time to speak with us today.
Thank you for the invitation.
So you recently published a paper about the relative price moves since January 2008. So what were your findings?
It's interesting. We've looked at all energy prices in Europe, i.e. Coal, gas, power, and oil, versus rebased at 100% back on the 1st of January 2008, and this all in dollars. And what we've seen is the super cycle in commodities, i.e. the early 2008 period where everything goes up. Then you have the crisis in the late 2008 and early 2009. And interestingly enough, here you're seeing the oil prices going first down and then the gas prices are going down after, which is quite normal at this time, because a part of the gas in Europe, most of the gas in Europe, was oil indexed with a lag. So makes sense to see both those curves following each other with a time lag. Then after the 9, you're seeing an increase in oil prices, followed by an increase in gas prices. And if we zoom into the period 2011 to 2014, we've seen oil prices high, and this was due to the fact that OPEC as a cartel had the ability to manage the market. We were seeing gas prices also quite high, and this was also due to the ability of the major producers, which are Norway and Russia, to be able to manage the market in Europe. And we were seeing coal and electricity prices going down. If we look at what happened right now, what's happening right now in September 2015, we've seen oil prices relatively being cheaper than gas prices, again rebased to the 1st of January 2008 at 100%. What does this mean? It means that since mid-2014, OPEC doesn't want to play the role of the swing producer and therefore doesn't manage the oil market. While on the other side, we've seen gas prices in Europe still staying higher relatively than oil prices, and this again due to the fact that Norway and Russia have this ability to cut supply if needed and to be able to achieve the desired price they like. And again, if we look at coal or electricity prices, because we are in a liberalized competitive market, they are cheaper relatively than the oil and gas prices. So the interesting part of this graph is showing us that right now in today's world, the oligopoly works better than a cartel that doesn't want to have an impact on prices, which is the OPEC. So the oligopoly in oil and gas works better than the cartel in oil to achieve a higher price. And again, it also shows that in a liberalized competitive market, prices in commodity should be lower, and this is the case for coal or for German electricity. So that's what we've seen on this graph. We've also seen that in 2014, we've seen a drop relative again in gas prices. And this happened just at the end of the winter 2014, and this was due to a very warm winter in 2014 and the ability of the major producers, Norway and Russia, to rebalance supply by cutting supply, because a warm winter means much less demand. But this took time, and so this took 2 to 3 months for them to achieve this, and this is why we had a rebound in prices in mid-2014, and gas prices are staying around this the level they are actually, which is something like $6.2 per million BTU for the NBP. And again, we think that Norway and Russia will maintain this market power in the foreseeable future in Europe. And so this means that even if we are seeing slightly more competition, there will still be this floor in gas prices in the coming months.
So you mentioned the prices in winter of 2014. So going forward, what is the main news flow for gas for this coming winter?
The main news flow, we've seen it in the last couple of days. You've seen Gladstone LNG starting, which is a new project in Australia, and this means that we are going to see more LNG on the supply side and more LNG berthing into Europe. But again, I do not think that on a broad level this will change the ability of Norway and Russia to manage their supply and achieve a higher price than an economic prices in Europe. So that's what what we've seen in the very, very short term. You've also seen that due to oil and gas prices lower today than they were back a few quarters ago, and much lower than their peak in 2008, you're seeing that companies are cutting capex, and so therefore we will have, I think, further delays in new projects coming online. The major unknown for this winter is the relation between Russia, Ukraine, and the EU. We still hope for a winter package to be achieved. Ukraine didn't receive any Russian gas for the last since the 1st of July. This doesn't really matter much in plain summer, because Ukraine can cope with reverse flow and can cope with European gas to balance its demand. This isn't the case in winter. In plain winter, Ukraine will need Russian gas. So again, we hope in our model that there will be a winter deal and an agreement in terms of prices for Russian gas to flow into Ukraine coming soon.
Great. Well, Thierry, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us today.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And thank you for watching. For all the latest Dukascopy updates and exclusive interviews, do keep clicking back. Goodbye for now.